Things are a little bit different than typical this year. Typically I'm, holding these colonies back this time of year, just kind of holding those reins, just holding them back until the flow starts and I can release them and just send them in to bring in the nectar. This year, it's more so just holding things together so it doesn't fall apart. Carrying groceries, how many bags of grocery bags can you handle at one time as you try to get into the house? Hold it so you don't drop anything. And as soon as you start dropping things, you don't want to drop the entire load. So it's just a matter of holding on tight. And I'm hanging on. I'm telling you, for dear life. So what I want to see here is whether or not there's a bit of a flow coming in. If there's a bit of a flow, then I'm just going to hold off a bit on the sugar so they don't plug up. But if they're hungry, I got to give them some sugar right away. I received a second, but not quite working up there. So we'll just take a look down. I don't think the queen's up here. The bees are just polishing things off. Yeah, definitely no nectar stored up here anyway. The nest smells absolutely terrific. So I'm just going to dive right into the heart of the matter here. That brood frame looks a little mediocre, but what I'm seeing here is damn sac brood, but what I'm seeing is nectar being stored. There is a flow going on here. Can't shake that sac brood. So this colony is developing by the size of it, but it's just plagued with the virus. Here's a mature frame emerging. Looks quite nice. Oh, she's just got that is right full of mature larvae. This frame is just full of young bees. This side is emerging and she's following up. This is very young larvae in here, just absolutely packed, and little young bees just walking all around. So that's good. Try to get this in the morning sun here. This mature frame of brood. Sac brood. Sac brood's just taking the edge off me. It's something I can't shake. Pollen kind of scattered in amongst there. Lots of young bees walking around. They're quite healthy with feed. Looks like there's a flow coming in. So I might just pull back. Well, I'm thinking of sending some syrup to this yard as well. We'll take a look at a few more here just to see. Just not happy with the brood nest. There's the queen there. Beautiful girl. Chalk brood. That should have been shook a long time ago. So that's probably why this colony was doubled up, because there's lots of bees. Lots of young bees. The assessment from the outside looked promising. Is just the edge is taken off it because of the virus, the sackbird virus, and maybe some chalk brood in there. So disease still plagues my apiary by the looks of it. And that's just going to delay development all the way through, I'm afraid. Nevertheless, they are up on top. And we'll just keep moving this puppy ahead. There we go. There's a big one. Let's see what they look like. That'll be my high water mark. No storage of any type of nectar up top. They're just up and cleaning. And she has not moved up here. These boxes have been on 3 days now. Maybe 4. Nest smells really good. I'm not seeing any new white wax. Just little hints of it here and there. It doesn't look like a nest that's lush. But we'll see what the brood nest looks like. Honey on hand, freshly stored. That's got to be nectar. Smells so nice. Organizing themselves just beautifully. This nest looks good from the outside. Getting into brood frames now. There's an old frame. Old brood emerging. Fresh eggs there. This side is just emerged and she's followed right up with eggs. I don't see her. She'll be close. As for food, they are throwing nectar kind of scattered all over the place. So that's good. There's a very gentle flow coming in here. Smells so good. We have a frame full of eggs. This side of the frame is full of freshly stored nectar. So far we have a very young nest going on here. Here's more mature brood. Very spotty nature to the brood laying pattern, but I think I still see pollen in here. I think that's because they plugged themselves with pollen earlier on. And it looks like they're just relieving themselves of that congestion here. So they'll shake that. I bet you there's pollen kind of scattered all over with the spotty. There's the damn sack brood again. And chalk brood. Even in my good colonies. This is a beautiful frame. We have mature larvae just everywhere it can. Pollen stores on this side. We have nectar. Chalk brood. Chalk brood, chalk brood. Sack brood. Just emerging. This side is pretty heavy with mature larvae. not a nest I'm getting too terribly excited over. It's kind of running flat. Takes the edge off. You get the brood issues. There's sock brood, pollen. Just I don't have frames of brood here that's going to emerge within the next couple weeks to be able to take an advancement. It's going to run flat. Pollen there. Pollen stores here. We have a brood nest here. It's kind of spotty because of the pollen all through. Same on this side. Very young nest. We've gone through an emergence by the looks of it, and they followed up with as many eggs as she could possibly lay. Lots of pollen, lots of brood. Sack brood and chalk brood. This yard's run flat. I can flash some syrup at them. Let's take a look at a new queen. What do we have going here? Lots of population. So as we requeened these colonies, typically we gave them 1 frame or 2 frames of brood boost, just to bump them up a little bit. And the reason why we requeened them is because they run flat right off the start. So I'm going to dig into the center. These queens have been going for, well, these queens have just got going. They were released the other day. Let's just take a peek to see if she's laying. Nothing happening there. There's some egg laying there. Just got going. These ones are quite a bit behind just because the requeening process has taken until now. Yeah, she's laying there. nicely accepted. So the intention behind these ones, well, to produce honey, I hope. So it's going to be a bit later. But we had to do something. We wanted, there's some nice brood going on. And if anything, they can rebuild themselves to, ooh, just a beautiful frame. You know, nice and nice. Frame of pollen. I must have missed her, but I don't need to find her. Ooh, this side's, that is spectacular. It's a Carpathian queen. She has got some spit and vinegar in her. So I'm going to close them up, leave them alone. She did the best she could with that garbage frame. They need a patty. They will get a patty. They had fresh nectar coming, just a small little flow. I'm considering just to give them just a little shot of syrup. I think I'm going to. So this yard needs time. Let's go look at some fresh stock. Here's the yard with my BCBs. It looks like they sorted themselves out just masterfully. Very little drift. I didn't expect a lot of drift actually, so we shook them in. I mean, these are young bees. There wasn't a lot that took instant flight. I'm going to send Carrie around tomorrow just to release those queens. They could have been released right away, but I like to just hold them tight, stick to that nest, and we'll release them. I do things the hard way sometimes, but that's just what I do. Yeah, there isn't a lot of unorganized. There's no bearding. I mean, just a little bit of drift there. Five frames of bees. She is out. No, she's not quite out. She's hours from being released. Quite easy on the cage. They're just pissed that I'm in here, so I gotta stop poking. It's not gonna help her acceptance with me poking and prodding like this, so she is within, hours of being released. I'm just gonna leave this yard well alone, let them settle in. So that's good. It's just a little easy, slower release for that queen. Let's go take a look at the yard further down. This being one of my toughest yards, we put a lot of boost into this yard. I brought it closer to home, so after every day of equalization, if we had extra brood, we come and just sifted it into this yard. So, as you can see, it's a little bit hard done by. Not many doubled up. Let's take a peek down into and then we had some queen replacement. So these queens have just got going. You because these are the last batch of queens I brought in. So let's take a peek. It's a random peek and see where we're at. And I'm expecting to see improvement. Hopefully better than that last yard. Bee population, lots of bee coverage. Hit these guys a little bit harder with the fumigillin than anybody else. Here, let me get in properly. So they definitely do not need a second box yet. The nest has a bit of nectar around it. That's good. Got some brood going on. It's a brood nest that I'm not really proud of, but it is a brood nest. We've got some pollen coming in. A little bit of nectar around the edge, not a lot, but they're still coming in. This is an old frame. It's about to emerge. Pull one more here. These guys look a lot better than they did off the start. How much honey is going to come off this? I don't know. Let's see if I can see any brood disease. Here's a nice young frame. It's old brood. Young brood. Here's the queen. I'm not sure if the spotty nature to the nest here is to do with brood disease or not. We're getting lots of emergence. Maybe I'll move one frame further in. I might need a nice young frame to be able to determine that. Here's a nice young frame. Early in the morning I gotta get my sun angle proper. I'm not seeing any sac brood so far. You just gotta shake, shake, shake it off. Okay. They could actually use a little bit. They have honey and everything, but they have some nectar coming in, but a shot of syrup's not going to hurt them. So that is what I'm going to do. All the way down the tree line. We have some New Zealand bees here. Running into immediate drone layers right off the start. I wasn't quick enough to find that, so we took a loss on them. Looks like I'm going to have to treat some colonies for ants here. These colonies are going to be moved right away. Just going to have to help these guys out a bit. Yeah, it's just at the front. Vicious little bastards. So I want to see where this brood nest is at. I haven't seen them. Carrie's come through and she's done the assessment. She's then come through to cut supersedure cells. I mean, you dump packages and these bees have been through a lot. And they blame the queen. So once that queen develops, starts building that masterful nest, they lay cells and it requeens them, and maybe that's a good thing. but I want that queen to brood as much as she can right off the start. So we cut those supersedure cells down. So that has been fixed all through here. She's only found a few. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames of bees. What we're going to do with this foundation is probably sift some of these frames out and drop in some comb to use up all the comb in the honey house. So once we're worked through the entire operation, this next round, we'll work through all the packages and just kind of fill them up. Colony smells real nice. That's got some nectar in there, so they're not hungry. Beautiful patch of brood, pollen, nectar. There's a bit of flow going on. One of the reasons why I brought a lot of packages in this year for replacement is because I wanted a refresh. My old stock, as I was shown in that first yard, has a lingering infection of virus within them. It's dragging them down. And what I needed to be able to provide a refresh, a complete, absolute refresh. And that's why I shook bees, because these bees coming in from other places, supposedly clean, shook into my equipment, and it's going to bring a brood nest that looks like that, right? An absolute refresh. So I wouldn't be surprised if these packages, like, look at that, that's an absolute spectacular frame of brood. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these packages actually catch some of my old stock. My old stock just being dragged down. That's why I worked so hard this spring to even out my old stock, to bring everything up as much as I could, to kind of hold them together, to help them, give them time for recovery. But at the same time, we worked our ass off bringing in these packages to provide that refresh. Beautiful. There's 2 solid frames of brood. That's what I want to see in these colonies this time of year. That's what's going to make me money, not those spotty, sickly frames. Hard doing. Lots of pollen here. They've been busy. I haven't found her. Oh, there she's starting on this side. So once they go through an emergence here, there's 2 frames of bees there. It's going to turn into, or 2 frames of brood. It's going to turn at least into 4 frames of bees. They're going to be stretched well out onto this foundation, but we're likely going to take these outside foundations out and drop some honey frames in there from the honey house just to use up comb. And that might help, as this colony progresses. In about 3 weeks, in about 6 weeks, it might help them get up into that honey box and maybe even get me some honey flow. This is one of the Italian yards I moved out, and they will be through an emergence now, according to timelines. Let me just pick a colony at random here. So we'll just see how far along they have their development. Looking at about 4 frames of bees. Those New Zealand, there she is there. Those New Zealand bees are still working on their first round of brood, so they'll be emerging next week. Just a beautiful queen. It's a buckfast baby. And there we go. A very mature frame of brood. Emergence is happening as we speak. So this colony is going to turn from this 4 frames of bees likely to 6, almost 7, 8 frames of bees, just like that. Let's count how many frames of brood we have going on here. So there's half there, there's another half, so there's 1.5. That's just littered. Look, got some nectar flow coming in, but that is just full of young brood on the outside. That's 2, let's say 2.5, not absolute full frames, but 2.5, and there's some brood on that side. That is going to take this nest. Boop. This will be a frame of honey coming this week. Let's take a look at another one here, right beside it. That's a little bit smaller. So this one either took some drift or I shook older bees. Could use a boost. Nice tight little brood nest there. Developing on that side. I mean, they're chugging along. I'm just going to leave them alone. Beauty. Oh, maybe it's a little bit deceiving from the top. They don't have as many bees as the other one, but they're going to have enough. They have about the same amount of brood. Beautiful. Look at that. And that is the reason why these packages are going to catch up to my mature colonies. Is my mature colonies just don't have the capacity in their brood nest like that. The virus is dragging them down. These girls are fresh. They're developing out the nest as they should be. They'll catch up. They won't catch up indeed.